I heard you wanted to know some questions to ask sensors and intuitives to see which they are. What's up, team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. This video is a response to a question I got on Patreon that was, can you give me some questions or some things to look for to understand if this person in my life is a sensor or an intuitive? So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about that, like what's really going on between sensing and intuiting. And then I'm going to give some questions that you can either ask or you can think about yourself and hopefully come up with the answer. It's not a binary on or off. There's always going to be a mirror on the other side. Like if you are a sensor, that just means that you prefer sensing most of the time. It's more like your go-to weapon or tool. It's your main hand perhaps. But then you're still going to have another hand. You still have your intuitive kit or your intuitive tools and your offhand, your left hand or right hand, whichever. You don't just only use sensing. Like you can't live like that. You don't just only use intuiting and get through life fine. It doesn't work like that, right? So there is a back and forth. Let me explain a little bit about how that's working, and then I'll go into the questions. Sensing and intuiting are both perceiving functions. They're the parts of yourself that help you learn and gather information. They're what's observing the world. It's like the filter, the lens that you use to see the world. Sensing is going to be a focus on the tangible reality of things. What is verifiable? What is reliable? What can you get up close and personal with and like touch and get your hands on and really understand through your senses? Intuiting taps on that and then it jumps off to trying to predict what could be, what could happen, reading between the lines, trying to understand the things that are not apparent, the things that are not reliable and verifiable, the things that are going on behind the curtains, and whatever other metaphor or analogy you want to use. I like the idea of range weapons, range attacks. I play games, and as opposed to sensing, which is more like up close, personal, melee, sword and hammer type thing, right? So it's more distance from the thing. It could be looking up, looking down over the situation. That would be more of an intuitive thing. The view from the trees, perhaps from up top, from a bird's eye view, instead of like picking up the wood chip or whatever it is and studying it by touching it and really understanding it in that sense. That's an interesting way of explaining sensing and intuiting. So let me get into some questions. What you're really wanting to know is, which is their strength? Do they really like and focus on sensing stuff? Or is it more intuitive stuff? Ask questions around how much do they need to be physically involved in something to understand it, to learn about it. Now this is going to get a little bit mixed up with just extroversion in general, so you really have to listen carefully to how they explain these things. Are the thoughts on the details, like the devil is in the detail type thing? Or are they more about like the overarching concept of how to do this thing, how to play the guitar, how to take pictures or something like that? So where are they actually focusing? Is it more on the lower concrete level, or is it climbing up to the overarching, like holistic conceptual level? Another thing you could ask, and this is, maybe it sounds simple, but is reality something that everybody can observe and touch and feel and taste? Or is reality bigger than that? Or is reality different from that? Something that you have to look behind the scenes? So those are a couple different questions that you can ask for sensing. What I really think is that asking questions directed to intuiting first is going to give you the quickest, most efficient route to understanding if they're a sensor or an intuitive. Because the world is pretty much built for sensors. It's like 75% sensors. And so intuitives have to do this thing called blending. You know, we need to get comfortable in that sensing realm in order to just function properly in society and in the world. So a lot of intuitives are going to be able to answer more sensing type things than sensors are going to be comfortable answering more intuitive type things. I hope that came out correctly. Like I said, it doesn't mean that you can't do one or the other, but it's a matter of comfort and strength in that area. And so if you're talking to somebody and you want to know if they're an intuitive, you could ask them like about concepts and how much hypothetical information that they're okay with. Like, hey man, do you like talking about aliens and maybe even conspiracy theories and kind of those Atlantis and, you know, different ideas that are not verifiable, they're not reliable. It's thoughts, imagination, coming up with different ideas to encompass a thing. So if you ask them something like that, you know, maybe everybody will be like, yeah, I can talk about that. It's okay. Ask them how long they can go on about that. Like my mom, she's an ESFP, you know, she just doesn't care for that stuff too much. She'll talk about it a little bit and then it's like, well, it's time to get into practice. It's time to like do something with this information or go just do something practical instead of, you know, just thinking about all this stuff. And so there's this level of comfort with that realm of things. That is what you're trying to focus on. Another thing that you could do, this came from Dario Nardi. He said, you know, like he would ask his subjects by taking two different items, ketchup bottle and a fork or whatever it is, and being like, okay, these two are getting married. Which is the male? Which is the female? Okay, and you know, you could be politically correct with it too, but you know, like just to simplify it, which is which? And an intuitive is more likely going to be able to just pick the one and say, well, the ketchup is because it's more shaped like this, it's going to be the female. A sensor, they're likely going to look at it for a little bit and like, oh, okay, I see what you're getting at, or what? Like, and then you can go from there, right? So that's just a little question that you can quickly ask. Just throw out some sort of crazy combination of things, throw out some concept and see how quickly the person is able to pick that up and vibe with it, and for how long they can do that as well. One thing that I've liked to do is hold something. This came from Evan Pagan. Hold a cup or something like that and be like, what's this? And the person's gonna say, it's a cup. Okay, well, you know, tell me about it. And then listen for what they talk about, how long they go on about different things. The sensor is more likely going to talk about the sensory aspects of the cup, right? The intuitive is more likely going to look at it and connect it to something else. This is a cup. It looks like a fence. It's kind of like braided. It's got this like weird intricate design on it that reminds me of this fence, or it could be a party cup or something like that. Like it's not connected as much to the sensory aspects or possibly the experiential aspects as well. I hope this video was helpful. It's not something that you can just ask one question and understand. Not everybody is going to give you that answer as quickly as you might want. So you need to really listen for the differences. Are they talking about tangible reality type things, experiential type things, or are they talking more about hypotheticals, conceptuals, imagination, things like that? And how long are they comfortable staying in that realm of conversation, that realm of thought or experience? That should help you understand the difference between sensors and intuitives and give you a couple questions or procedures, I suppose, in order to understand it when you're talking to your friends, family, so that you can communicate better with them. So thank you very much for watching. Good luck, have fun. Peace.